understood what true gratitude really looks like, what people sacrifice for an education in other parts of the world. I thought I had worked hard, but I understood what families were sacrificing so their daughters could have educations.
Making history with Cone Health's first female CEO, driving innovation and redefining patient care with unshakable vision and impact. Welcome, Mary Cagle.
You grew up in a small town in Jasper, Alabama. Was there a lot of financial freedom growing up?
I'm not sure I even understood what financial freedom was growing up. My father always had at least 2 jobs growing up. And as kids, we were encouraged to take on jobs or chores to earn extra money. And so whether that was volunteering to do extra cleaning like at our church, or I was the oldest, so babysitting jobs. We learned that, if you want to call it financial freedom, but having pocket change came from doing work. Mm-hmm. And financial freedom to my brother and I, we were less than a year and a half apart, was on Sunday afternoons we would go on a bike ride while our parents took naps. Yeah. And my mother would give us a quarter apiece to spend on our bike rides. So that felt like financial freedom to us. But I think, for our family, what we did to be self-sufficient was we had a garden. My father fished and hunted, so we would have extra meat in the freezer. We shopped at Goodwill shops, at secondhand stores. So we come from a very frugal family, but also we're taught a very strong work ethic so that if we wanted extra, then you learn to work for it. Mm-hmm. I've worn glasses since I was 8 years old. And when I became a teenager, of course, I wanted contact lenses. And my parents couldn't afford that. And my first job where you had to clock in and clock out, I got at a Sears, a big Sears store, and they had an optometry section, and I bought my own first contact lenses with a Sears discount.
You're like, I'm going to get
those. So when I think about financial freedom, I don't know that our family had what today would be considered financial freedom, but it was very clear that in our family, if you wanted something, you had to have a plan to work for it to get it. And I learned that very early. And by the middle of my junior year in high school, I had that pair of contact lenses because I put a plan together and bought my pair of contact lenses. And that felt like financial freedom to me. So, that's what it felt like. But it involved a lot of hard work and deciding what were the important things to have versus
your wants and your needs.
Yeah, what wants and needs were. Mm-hmm. And the wants you got by doing extra.
Yeah. I remember when I was little, in elementary school, it was about 5th grade, I used to ride the church bus. Yes. And the bus captain, they owned their own landscaping business, and they were like, do you want to come pull our weeds on our beds and on our flower beds? And I was like, yeah, of course, because we didn't have a lot of financial freedom going up too. So I was like, this is perfect. I was like, I'm gonna be rich. And then I started doing that, and then I slowly started to work in helping them on their business with landscaping, and I could definitely relate to that. I mean, I remember thinking I want to buy that polo shirt or that that everyone else is wearing. It looks so cool. And then it's like I gotta work for it,
That's right.
Like I can just go click on the shopping thing and it's like, oh, it'll be here next Sunday. It's like, oh no, I need to go work 2 or 3 days.
That's right.
Pay for one shirt.
Yeah, I had big dreams. I knew from a really young age that I wanted to be a doctor. And so my parents said, well, first of all, you got to go to college. So you really need to make good grades and we'll help you get a scholarship. And so I was really fortunate to get an academic scholarship to college. But to be able to pay for all the other things once I got to college, yes, my tuition was paid for, but all the other things, books, housing, food. So I always worked a minimum of 2 jobs during college, sometimes 3.
Yeah.
And so I I had a scholarship that let me graduate debt-free from college, but I always worked. So again, that idea of what do you want versus what you need, and how do you have financial freedom, required that I had to work hard to keep my grades up and maintain my scholarship. And where did I want to live? What did I want to eat? And what did I want to do? Well, you better have a plan to have a job to pay for all of those things. So I think a lot of how I live my life today and the work ethic that I have today comes from all of those years of understanding you got to have a plan. And so the financial freedom that I enjoy today comes from all those years of understanding nothing's free.
Yeah.
You have to plan, and it comes from hard work. And I really appreciate the upbringing that I had. That
it's like you value it more in a way. I mean, I don't know what the other side is like growing up with financial freedom, but I feel like when you are starting out like that, then whenever you get to that place, you're like, it's more valuable.
Yes.
You appreciate it more.
Yeah, and it really shapes how you live your work life today. I mean, I'm very planful in my schedule and how I work and make certain that I get everything done, so it really shapes who you are.
And you do short-term medical missions in third world countries, developing countries. Is that part of the reason why? Because you grew up not having a lot of financial freedom?
So I don't have the opportunity to do that today, but I certainly did that when I was in private practice. And yes, probably a couple of reasons why I do that. That was part of the reason. And also my parents made church and a relationship with God part of our family life and part of who I am, and to give back anything that we had. And so I had opportunities to go to Africa.
At Juliant, we're with you at every milestone, and your brightest dreams never have to fade. At Juliant, we help you shine. That's brighter banking. Juliant Federal Credit Union.
So I would say that's why I started doing it. But once I had the opportunity to do it and met such wonderful people who had so much gratitude in their heart for what we gave, I found that I received so much more than I gave. I had the opportunity to work with nursing students, and I'm an OBGYN by training, and I got to train some students. And not only did it make me appreciate and understand how the rest of the world lives, but I understood what true gratitude really looks like, and what people sacrifice for an education in other parts of the world. I thought I had worked hard, but I understood what families were sacrificing so their daughters could have educations. And so I kept going because I wanted to be of service to people who are giving so much themselves. And it made me feel part of something much bigger, and it felt like it was part of my calling. I would recommend that to anyone and everyone who has an opportunity to go and serve and understand we're part of something bigger.
Yeah, once I grew up a little more and have a little more financial freedom, and I'm able to try to serve a little more than I do now. I want to do that, especially in El Salvador, because that's where I grew up.
Yes.
And I remember walking to school when I was in elementary school. And it wasn't very far. It was like a 20-minute walk. And people still do it. I mean, and kids, very young age. And it's living here for 15 years and then looking back at how I lived then. It's just crazy that people still live that way.
Correct. Yeah, so much for us to learn and understand. And for me, it's created a sense of gratitude for all I have and for all I've been given.
And I think it's important to have gratitude, especially like you wake up in the morning and you're grateful for everything you have. I think adding that into your daily habits is a good thing to do.
Absolutely.
And you recently turned down, or I guess a couple of years ago, you turned down a merger opportunity. What led you to turn it down? I mean, did you do a pros and cons list? I'm sure it's a little more extensive than that, but.
Well, so it wasn't me per se. It was our board of trustees. And the board of trustees from the other organization together made a decision that it wasn't the best decision for both organizations. So I think there are a couple of things to know about that. And then let's just talk about Cone Health and how we make these decisions in general. At that time, all of that work had gone on during the COVID pandemic. And so most of that was done virtually. And I laugh and I get asked this question. I said, the big lesson we learned is it's hard to build relationships and plan a merger virtually.
Yeah.
Because so much of planning any merger or acquisition or any partnership is based on relationships. And while you can do a lot of things virtually, and certainly in our workforce we do, you're not going to build the best of relationships virtually, whether it's online dating or whether it's in the workplace. You can do a lot of things, but ultimately the best relationships eventually have to be face to face, right? And so I would say that was one of the barriers to us being able to truly get that done. And then I would say for both organizations, both Centera and Cone, both organizations want to be true to their mission and their visions and their values. And at the end of the day, I think both boards of trustees decided that we weren't as well matched in all of those areas in culture as we've needed to be as successful. So I don't think it wasn't one over the other. I think both boards came to a decision that it wouldn't serve what either organization was trying to do. And as you know, we've recently announced that we are moving forward with a partnership with Rising Health. And those were the things that drove the decision to move forward with that, is the match in the values, the mission, the vision of where we believe healthcare should go.
I think a lot of people too are so used to doing things virtually and not as much in person anymore. And I definitely think it's a valuable component of life to do things. I mean, for example, this interview, I'd love doing it in person. You know, I going to Washington next month, you know, because I don't want to do it virtually. I think in person it's just
it adds a different element, right? And you can do a lot of pre-work, and there's, as I said, many things we can do virtually, and it certainly is important to be able to do many things virtually. But in relationship building, we have to have some face-to-face work. It has to be done.